Good morning. Many a times, small incidents in far-off places take place that have implications which are revealed slowly but steadily to the discerning eye. But as they say, the coming events cast a shadow before. And the two events which took place just recently in the last week have such an effect on the polity and the process of governing in the whole world. But I've seen that most of the media has ignored it. There were two referendums. One was in Iraqi Kurdistan and the other in Spain's Catalonia. Catalonia's referendum and the Iraqi Kurdistan referendum show a weakening of faith of the very concept of unity in diversity. Till now, most of the democracies have been priding themselves on the very concept that they are diversified, that they represent different cultures, different nationalities, different communities, but a common binding thread goes through all of them and they're united. But are they really united? These two referendums show that there's a very troubling global trend. And the global trend is the weakening of faith in the very concept of unity in diversity, or what the Canadian politicians are fond of saying, diversity is our strength. I don't want to go into the merits or demerits of how the Catalonians or the Kurds voted. There are strong arguments on both sides. But what is more relevant is that the both cases exemplify an exclusivist ideology. In short, the people in these two regions don't want to live with other people because they feel that doing so would diffuse their specific ethnic and cultural identity. Now, the moment you are in a pluralistic society, the moment you are in a society which is diversified and which is pluralistic, then there is likely to be an impact of one culture on the other. And that is the way the whole world and the world cultures have evolved. India has the impact of Greek, Iraqi, Iranian, Ottoman, Chinese culture. The European culture is a conglomerate of all the cultures. So, to have a hidebound culture or a hidebound identity is a mark of being hidebound in thoughts. It's simply not possible. And one thing to be noted is that both Catalonia and Iraqi Kurdistan did enjoy a considerable amount of autonomy. Yet, going to the referendum, the people in both places have shown a desire to be totally independent of their existing countries, namely Catalonia from Spain and Kurds from Iraq. At a fundamental level, at the basic level, the desire represents an erosion of the ideal of unity in diversity. But what is true is, and we cannot deny it, that unity in diversity model hasn't worked out smoothly in many cases. I agree, but if a concept has not worried, does it mean that the baby should be thrown out of the bathtub along with the bathwater? No. Instead, ways should be found to strengthen diversity and integration processes within these countries. You can always find excuses for separation, for going independent, at the drop of a hat. Even a politician, a selfish politician, can always find reason to inflame the passions, the feelings of the people, mislead them, since he wants to be in power. And I've seen that the most of the desires of the people to be independent have been that the politicians want to be in power. The moment they come in power, the desire for being separate simply fades in thin air. The reason is the people find excuses and the people are misled by these excuses. But if all of these are to be taken seriously, the concept of modern nation state will vanish. The very concept of a nation state means that various nationalities combine to make a nation. Otherwise, each village would be an independent country. A world with only ethnic nationalities will be chaotic, disorganized, unwieldy, and all conflicting interests will multiply and lead to a very vexed global order. Imagine the old time when the city-states used to be here in Greece. What happened? They fought with each other. There was no way you could bring them at power. My city, right or wrong. So you have got to combine. India had more than 800 states, independent, warring with each other. And most of the history of India is fight of one state against the other. Another thing which worries is that this is a disease, it's a contagious disease, an infectious disease. The infection is spread. There's already a talk in Quebec for being separate. There has been for a long time. Whenever the political party wants it, it raises that specter. The same is happening in Kashmir. And in case the demise of these calls is to be permanent, if genuine independence desires of distinct identities to be successful, how can flippant demands be met? I can understand the desire of a community to be independent, but would that be viable economically? Would that be viable politically? Would that not be a precursor to the further vivisection of that nation state? So how to solve these fissiparous tendencies? Solution is not very difficult. It lies in greater autonomy, greater democracy, and economic growth. And the economic growth should be so oriented that it's inclusive. It's not meant for a select few. Otherwise, democracy becomes oligarchy. Greater democracy will ensure better representation of the people, and while the greater economic growth, and when I say economic growth, I again want to repeat, inclusive economic growth, will ensure that grievances will come to a halt and the desire of the call for separation would be neutralized. These two factors alone will ensure that the people are able to live together in peace and harmony and work together for a better future, while keeping their own, and at the same time, since they have autonomy, they keep their cultural identities intact. In fact, one of the main reasons why Europe has witnessed a rise in right-wing nationalist groups is the continent, except in Germany, because it's going through a phase of economic slowdown. When too many immigrants come, they feel threatened by the culture and, more important, from the economic issues. The jobs which are less in number become still less when other people go in. The size of the pie is reduced. And that is why the reaction is there. It's a human reaction. It's justified. I'm not saying. But it goes against the interest of the greatest good of the greatest number of the people. And that is what the aim has got to be. I understand that democracy needs a high level of quality to facilitate equitable, harmonious economic development. And there is what the crux is of this problem is. Because the harmonious economic development is not there, the issue becomes still more complicated. But that's a goal striving for. You do not forsake a goal because it's difficult to be attained. Losing sight of this would give birth to the exclusivist tendencies which will hurt everyone in the long run. Last time I was talking about the best democracies, and I referred to Switzerland being the best democracy. And why is it that there's no demand for separation in that country? Imagine it. There are 3 official languages. There are 28 cantons. Each one of them is independent, autonomous. I won't call it independent, autonomous in most of the sense. So in a federation, if you are able to give sufficient autonomy in the matters which are of importance to them, but the major issues which affect diplomacy, foreign affairs, infrastructure, currency, monetary policies, they are centralized, then you would have pockets of prosperity all over, and the people would not want to be separated from the mainland. We must remember one factor, that referendum isn't the only measure of democracy and political representation. It is within certain parameters. But if referendum is every time to divide the country, then that's no measure. Referendum should be on the laws, not for separation. That's what I mean. Working together should be the goal. And the goal should be just equitable, all-round, inclusive development of the people to be really democratic. It's a high time that we, the citizens of multicultural countries, the citizens of the democratic, diversified countries which take pride in their diversity, like India, like Canada, like USA, remind ourselves that genuine unity in diversity is one of the highest democratic ideals. Now, whether we are able to achieve that ideal or not is a different matter. But that should be the goal. And in case that is not a goal, then we are fooling ourselves and fooling our coming generations. We are playing ducks and drakes with the whole system of democracy, and that would lead to what? Mobocracy. Further to oligarchy, further to dictatorship. And that would be a horrible thing, because then not only the interest of that group, but of all the groups that are genuine shall suffer. Referendums are good to accept or reject laws. Referendums must not be the base of separation, because the separation may weaken both the parties, the seceding party and the main host party. You see, amputation is the last resort and should never be taken lightly. You don't want to amputate a country if only there's a boil on a finger. Just imagine you have a hand, there's a boil in the finger. Will you just cut off the finger? No. You try to treat it. But in case it's cancerous, then it might have to do, but that's a very remote case. These two referendums, as I said, are a pointer to the fact that people are losing faith in the concept of plurality, pluralism, and the very base of democracy, which is unity in diversity. It's high time to check this downfall and bring back the democratic ideals, pure, clear, unadulterated as they were. Thank you.